Okay, right, this is take two. First one, batteries ran out. Annoying. Okay, film photography. Yes. I suppose it's inevitable that I was going to have to make one of these eventually, as half my photographic life, well, maybe not half. Actually, yeah, it's probably about half. My photographic life is film photography. I was born in the middle of the 1970s, so no digital photography, not to the masses until mid 2000s, late 2000s. Didn't have my first digital camera until 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. Before that, I was shooting on a Pentax autofocus SLR, and before that, so various automatic cameras that were given to me by my parents. So, yeah, this can be an interesting subject. First of all, there is over a century's worth of, probably two even, roughly speaking, centuries worth of history when it comes to film photography. Digital, about 20 years worth, maybe 25, 20 years worth. So, all these photos were shot. You probably see some of them from my digital shoots in previous videos. Are shot around the area that I live in, that I've grown up in, that I've spent virtually my entire life in. A mixture of black and white and colour. Now, black and white was all shot on Ilford Delta 400, which is my favourite black and white film. I found it to have quite good latitude when it comes to the dynamic range, bright and dark, or dark and bright, whichever way around you want to put it. And the colour, some of them are Fuji, from a roll of film that came in the camera that I took them with when I bought it, and some more, so like the cover photo for this video, that was shot on Portra 400, which is probably my favourite colour film, I have to say. I like the sort of like subtle pastel palette. It's not too bright and zingy. But then, one of the things I like about film photography is you can go out, say you live in a city and you want to do some nighttime photography, and you're worried about how good or bad it might look. You can get tungsten film, which is a color balanced film for tungsten. It's like a white balance in your digital camera is the equivalent of the different kinds of white balances you get for color film. So yeah, and that's really good for that kind of photography when it comes to light, lots of artificial lighting, as well as studios as well. If you use tungsten light in a studio, you can of course use that for portraits. And one of the things I like about film photography is the definition and structure of the photo, the actual negative itself. They're quite nice to look at, or at least I find them quite nice to look at. When I went and did photography as a degree, we had these workshops because they have these big studio spaces, and you could get a digital camera if you wanted to, but I had a lot bigger stock of film cameras, from SLRs to medium format as well. Medium format is much bigger and is more expensive than 35mm, and certainly more expensive than digital. But you can get a pretty good neck 6x6 or 645 medium format camera with a lens in really good condition on eBay for about 450 quid, to give you an idea. And that comes with a film back as well. And medium format film, yes, you get less shots, but the trade-off is you get less shots, but you get much bigger negatives. It means you get the digital equivalent of higher resolution, basically. So that's like going from a Micro Four Thirds camera to a GFX camera in the size of the the sensor size. So, and that's the other thing, the sensor size in like the GFX cameras is about the same as 645 negative. And if you don't know what 645 negative is, that is the medium format, one of the smallest versions of the medium format you can get, and it has the same aspect ratio as 35mm film. So it's one of the easiest ways to go, and it's ones where you can get the most sort of, I think it's like about 20 shots on a roll of 120 film. And that's the other thing, they used to take 220 film as well, but you can't, and I don't think anybody makes it anymore. Or if they do, it's very hard to get hold of, and it's very expensive. And all that does is just give you twice as much as well, almost twice as much as 120, as I understand it. I may be wrong. So yes, the big stumbling block at the moment for film photography is the cost. So you can get a Canon AV1, which is an aperture priority old SLR camera. It's manual focus, but it's auto exposure when you got a battery, and you just set the ISO of the film you put in there, because it doesn't have a DX reader. I'll get onto that in a minute. So you set it yourself, and it has a light meter built in, which you use with the battery. It won't work without the battery, I think. Yeah, it can't work without the battery because you can't set the shutter speed. You get one of those about 30-40 quid. Lenses, same again, 30-40 50 quid. Really sharp one costs you a bit more. And then roll of 35mm film, you can get it for £8-9, the cheap black and white, sort of like Fomapan type stuff. But then if you want the more expensive colour stuff, you're talking 25-30 quid, possibly. Certainly over 20 for a roll of film. And that's not even the end of the expenditure, because then you have to pay either to do it yourself, to develop the film yourself, and that means getting various chemicals and equipment and having a dark room or a dark space that you can do it in, as well as having clean water. So if you live in a hard water place like I do, then you need a filter. You need to filtrate the water when you're cleaning your film at the end. So there's that. Or if you're doing black and white film, there's various different stuff you can use for that. Various different developers for that. There seems to be more. It seems to be like a standard for colour film, where you can just use the same stuff for colour film, and another slightly different process for colour negative film. But with black and white, there's quite a lot of different stuff, and each manufacturer tells you. They have like a cheat sheet almost that tells you what you should use for each kind of film. Sort of like how long you should have the developer on it for, how long you should wash it for, how long you should have the fixer for, how long you should wash it again for, all these different processes. So yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into the whole process from start to finish, which quite frankly a lot of film photographers are, then go for it. I mean, that is a cheaper way of doing it, but otherwise you have to send it off to a lab, or if you're lucky enough to have one where you live, walk it to the lab, and then they'll charge you anywhere from £10-15 a roll just to develop it. That's just developing it. That's not scanning it. Scanning it's another process, another cost. I was looking at Analog Wonderland, I think it was, and I was trying to work out how much it would cost to get just one roll of Ilford Delta 400 developed, scanned, and it was looking quite expensive. I mean, it's looking somewhere in the region £26-28 a roll of film from start to finish. Now, don't quote me on that, because I may be remembering it wrong. So yeah, so you got 5 rolls of film. That's easily 130 quid. Just like that. And that's without any prints, which you order on top of that. So yeah, I mean, it's not cheap. Which is why I'm thinking of doing it. Not because it's not cheap. It'll make me think more about my work. Make me think about, do I want to take a photo of this? Do I really want to take a photo of this? Why am I taking a photo of this? Why should I take a photo of this? Why shouldn't I take a photo of this? Does it fit into what my intentions are as well? And all these other thoughts that should go into your digital photography but don't, because you just go, well, it's free, effectively. I can take hundreds and hundreds of photos, pull out my memory card, shove it in my computer, and I just edit them. pick out the ones I want. I might only have, I have a rule of thumb when I go out and shoot, say, 150, 160 shots, I'll be happy if I got 20 that I can post up here in a video. You know, and just think about it, 130, 150, 160 shots, and I've got 20. That's 140 that I didn't want, that I thought weren't good enough. Now, that is more than 4 rolls of film. That is more than 100 and something pounds in development and scanning. So do you see what I mean? And having that extra time makes you slow down, makes you really, really think about it, and that I think is a good thing for me anyway. I mean, if you just want to shoot lots of photos and post them up on Instagram and you're just doing it for fun, then maybe film photography isn't for you, unless you want that actual tactile process. But if you want the tactile process and you don't want the cost, then I would suggest go and buy a Fujifilm camera, one of the XT cameras, or the X100, 6, X105, one of those. Because you get that tactile experience, but digital, and you're not forking out hundreds of pounds, well, potentially hundreds of pounds per roll, per session, per trip, per walk, per whatever. But yes, medium format as well, that is something I would really like to get into more, because yes, the cameras are more expensive and they're heavier, and God, they are heavy, but they're mechanical. You can get auto winders, but with the fact that they don't make them anymore, I'm a bit retro, a little bit, do I really want something that could break and then I won't be able to fix it, sort of thing? I'd rather have something that I can wind manually. Now, if you really want to get into it and you've got the money's not a problem, then you should just go buy a Leica M6 or Leica M7. Go into the M series. They are seriously expensive cameras, but they are fully mechanical, and you can shoot them without the light meter. So if the light meter doesn't work, or the light meter, your battery goes, you can use your phone as a light meter. There are plenty of apps for that, and then just adjust the f-stop and the shutter speed accordingly. And I just think with film photography, especially manual film photography, there's a certain level of skill that all these modern cameras just take away from you. They take away the art of focusing, of looking at what you're shooting, rather than just looking around and going, yeah, and just putting it up to your eye. Maybe not even putting it up to your eye, just the screen is just going tick, 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 and then looking at them afterwards. So yeah. Now, that being said, there are some, the drawbacks of film. There are some bonuses, and that's the fact that you can buy consumer level SLR cameras, Canon and Nikon especially, Pentax as well, that you can slap your EF and F autofocus glass on and they will work really well, and you'll get some very nice photos. In fact, some of these were shot on a Nikon F-mount camera. I think it cost me like £8, and it was shot on a 24 to 120 f4 zoom lens, about f8 I think most of the time. And some of the Canon ones, they were shot with a Tamron 28 to 300 zoom lens, f 3.5 to 5.6 I think, but it was the second version, which when I used on digital I didn't like, couldn't get the right kind of level. But some of the photos came out okay. I mean, some of them obviously didn't, and they're not here. But yeah, the added bonus with the EF mount is that you can well, the added bonus with the EF and the F mount is you can get older glass to put on them. But in the EF mount case, you can use an M42 to EF adapter, which I used on the 7D digital one in one of my previous videos, and you can put M42 lenses on there. And there's some really old lenses there, but there's some really good ones, you know, really sharp ones. And again, if you are mixing your film photography with digital and you've got a mirrorless camera, you can adapt that M42 lens pretty much onto any digital mirrorless camera. I mean, I've got an EF to Micro Four Thirds speed booster for my GH6. I've got two of them actually. So it's a focal reducer. So you do the, basically you, with the focal reducer, what it means is instead of having to times the focal length by 2 to get the full frame equivalent focal length of what you're getting on your sensor, it's 1.42. So my 24 turns into a 35mm lens. But it's an f2.8 lens, so it gives it an extra stop of light that I wouldn't have had if I just slapped it on a normal adapter, and it would turn it into a 48mm lens. Now that's good for video. I don't know if it's good for photos though. That's the thing. I don't know if it's good for photos because I haven't had a chance to go out and take many yet. That'll be probably my next video. Next week I'm going to have some shots taken with a G8.6 and a few M42 lenses. So I've got a 24, a 35 and a 50 and a 135. So I'll probably take a 24 and a 35 and maybe the 50 as well. And we'll see what we get. You know, see how easy it is with the focus peaking to get some nice shots. I'll try and, one of the things I'll have to do is push up the ISO a little bit to make sure I can keep a nice fast shutter speed so I get nice sharp images. But video wise, I think they should be really good for video because it shoots 4K and it shoots 5.7K my GH6, by the way. But I don't want to shoot that high. I don't want to downsample from that. I'll be quite happy shooting 4K, cinema 4K, which yes will eat up into my card quite quickly. But it's 4K, which is just over 8 megapixels in photographic terms. That's the resolution. So it's not, 8 megapixels with a vintage lens. I think the video is going to come out really nice. So I'm going to shoot some photos, shoot some video, and then I'll post the photos up first while I color grade the video. I may not even bother color grading it and just turn it into monochrome, black and white, because and then all I've got to do is play around with things like contrast. We'll see. It depends if it takes too long to do the color grading, I may just go, no, black and white, thank you very much. We'll have a go at that to start with and see how that goes, purely to see the footage more than anything else. But getting back to film photography, I am very interested in getting into it more though, both medium format and 35. I'm looking at getting a Canon AE1 because I've got some really nice FD lenses for that, and an M42 to FD adapter, which means I can use some of my M42 lenses on it as well, especially the 50mm lens, which is a really nice lens, and the 135, which you've already seen in my 7D video. But yes, film photography. Who'd think about it? Just one little thought to go on that: the history of film photography. Now, it's difficult to find it online, to watch online anyway. A BBC series called The Genius of Photography, but you can buy it on DVD from Amazon. It's definitely on there because that's where I got mine from. And anyone who's interested in photography in a serious way, who wants to learn about the history of photography, how the technology, the film technology especially, developed up to our digital age, that's the series for you. And it also introduces you to a lot of different photographers in history and the kind of photography they took and the various photographic genres that there are out there that you may not even know about. to be honest. Because we all know what social media does. It just feeds you more of what you've been looking at. So if you want to discover something new, it's not going to let you do it unless you make the conscious effort. So there's that. Okay, I'm going to stop it there because I'm hoping the new batteries have captured everything I've said. Now, I must apologise for not posting a video for a month. I've been very, very busy with work and other stuff to do with clearing some space in the garden for a new shed, large workshop shed for my dad. I might even take some footage of that as well. There's a thought. But I should be back on it soon. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and more will be on the way. Ta-ta.